Hello, and welcome to an all-new episode of Press YYZ. We're the only Canadian gaming podcast that you can catch live on Twitch every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as on podcast services and YouTube every Thursday. My name's Nathan. Today I'm joined by Kozi and AJ. Kozi, how are you doing?
It's been a very pokerific week for me, Nathan.
Been.
Very pokerific, and I have so much to talk about.
Oh no. AJ, how are you doing?
I feel like I could be just as tired as you are for whatever reason. I fucking woke up today, and this is the second time it's happened in like the last month, with the worst friggin' Charlie horse in my leg, just out of nowhere. Apparently the common causes of that are like if you're dehydrated, which I know I'm not, by the amount of water I drink and the amount of times I have to pee during the day. And then is like a lack of potassium, but I also have a banana every day. So I don't know what's going on there, but clearly I'm just getting older and breaking down.
That happens when you get older. That's my understanding.
So,
all right. Also, Kozi, I didn't tell you, but we have a special guest.
We do?
Yep.
Somebody's about to invade our Discord.
Oh!
As a surprise.
I think I know who you're talking about. Let me
I would like
this
to
ready real quick. Here we go.
Introduce you to Hazel, my new puppy.
Oh,
We have leased her from a fine leasing facility that leases dogs.
Yep. Just a rental.
It's a rental dog.
Yep.
So,
Never gonna let that
Kozi, we
one
can
die.
talk later about how.
I mean, it's a good bit when there's an actual dog available. It's pretty good.
I didn't have a choice. I felt like it had to be done. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's Hazel. That's my new puppy. So
It's adorable.
I picked a terrible week to start streaming.
Yeah, with a puppy, you have to keep an eye on and make sure she doesn't like strangle herself on cords and everything.
Or maybe
Honestly,
you
she's-
picked the best week to start streaming because, you know, a lot of popular streamers out there have like puppy cams, cat cams.
I was just gonna say you need a puppy cam. You need a puppy
I'm
cam.
considering
Yeah.
something like that.
You need
What
to make
is your-
you need to make a TikTok account for her.
Okay.
Instagram account. Take a bunch of awesome. You got a Pixel phone, so you're gonna take good pictures anyway. Because sometimes, like even if you're like small time and like she doesn't get internet famous or anything like that, like it's still sometimes brands will still reach out to you and send you free products to try with her.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Our
we'll give that a
cat-
try.
Our family's cat, Jackie, has more Instagram followers than me or anyone else in my family. If you go on Instagram and search Jackie the tortoiseshell cat, all one word, you will find a cat that is not posted, I believe, since December of 2021 that is still beating all of your asses at the Instagram game. So I think that you should heed AJ's advice, Nathan. I think you got to get that pup
Okay.
on Instagram.
All right. Well, Instagram or TikTok. I think TikTok's probably the better platform at this point, right? I don't know. We'll discuss. Maybe I can do multiple services. It's just so much
Yeah.
work.
Yep.
So before we get into housekeeping, as a reminder, please, we here at Press YYZ stand against discrimination of any kind. And while we appreciate however you choose to give back to our show, there's no better way to support us than being excellent to each other. If you want to give a donation to a charity that helps focus on Ukraine, I think this month that'd be great too. So just look at that, be cool, and let's support people who need support.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk quickly about housekeeping. So I guess I'm going to start because I'm the one who's got a lot of housekeeping. I talked about this last week, but I have officially launched my Twitch channel, _NMAC, and I've been doing some solid streaming the past 2 nights. So, yay! I've been streaming WWE 2K22. It's pretty good. We're going to talk about it and a bit in what we've been playing. But my intent is to keep this going. I will keep Thursdays on our Press YYZ channel, I think, until I'm done Lego Dimensions, and then I'll probably switch over to my channel for that as well. But yeah, no, it's been a pretty fun week. I was going to say this was a bad week for me to start because I literally have to go on a week's vacation.
Yeah,
After.
yeah.
So,
I mean, it's your test and trial week. I remember last year when I started doing a little bit of streaming on my own personal channel. I would just boot it up randomly and play like 30 minutes to an hour as I tried to get like the stream layout and everything set accordingly of like
yeah.
the demo for the Wind Waker on GameCube.
Oh,
And it
nice.
was literally like the demo disc that came before it with Ocarina of Time and Master Quest put on it. But yeah, there's you're working out the kinks right now, and then like the proper launch, I guess, would be after you get back.
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure I got the fresh launch of 2K22 because technically
That's
it came
fair.
out on midnight on Tuesday. But for some reason, I decided to take a plane to New Zealand on Monday and play it early.
Is this,
So,
correct me if I'm wrong, were you previously in New Zealand in 2021?
yes, when I wanted to play Forza Horizon 5 early, I was in New Zealand.
Man,
Yeah.
I just today we finally confirmed my first out of province trip since the start of the pandemic. I'm going to Toronto, hopefully towards the end of April. Hopefully I'll be able to see you guys. If not, we'll figure out something else for the future. And I'm so jealous that you've been to New Zealand of all places twice since the start of 2020.
Well, when you want to play a game early, sometimes you need to travel there. There's no choice.
That's the secret. Okay.
Yep. If you want to know how to play games slightly earlier than everybody else, by
New
like
Zealand
8 hours.
lives in the future. Yep.
They do. So that's how you do it. So yes, please, if you haven't not subscribed, followed me on Twitch, please give me a follow. It's _NMAC. I'm sitting at like 23 followers now. I need to get to 50 to be affiliate. So whatever support I can get from the community, I'd really appreciate that. So I'll be streaming Lego Dimensions tomorrow night. So my last night streaming before I go on vacation, because I will be gone all next week. I will be doing that. I don't know how close I am to the end. I feel like I'm close to the end of the story mode. That being said, tune in to find out. Finally, and I won't be here for this, but next week, our YYZ reviewee game will be Art of the Rally, which actually I feel like would be a great game for me to play. We have a Ben who's been on our show before. This was his recommendation, correct, AJ?
Yeah. My friend Ben has agreed to potentially come back again onto the show and talk some more about games and the development side of things. But he was originally going to be on this week, but the world being the way it is, he was feeling a little off, had to cancel his babysitter and stuff, so he couldn't make it. But this was his recommendation, and I believe hold on, let me pull up the quote that he said about it.
We got an actual quote from him on this podcast. This is
about Art of Rally.
Storm to come.
Yeah, so he suggested Art of Rally, and then he said, Art of Rally looks dope and is made by a nice guy. I've always wanted to play it, but haven't gotten around to it. Pretty small, pretty indie racing game, and it's on Game Pass. And I feel racing games don't get enough love, which I think, Nathan, you will agree with.
I would.
I want to say, complete and utter respect for Ben Wander. He was great last time he was on the podcast. Looking forward to his appearance next week. I was kind of expecting that his quote would be something like, yeah, I played this indie game and it spoke to me on a fundamental level. This game is going to change your lives too. I kind of like that we're all going into it blind, but that's not exactly the quote I was expecting.
Yeah, no, it just from like judging a book by its cover perspective, like that's kind of how he picked it. So
I do want to say very quickly, no spoilers about what the game actually entails. However, if you go to a website called timetobeat.com, completing everything in the game's single player campaign apparently takes around 16 hours. So if you're playing along with us, don't feel obliged to complete it within the week. Just, dip your toes in, and if it gets your hooks in you, by all means, keep going. But I think all of us are going to just kind of play what we feel comfortable with playing.
Absolutely.
100%. Before I finish off housekeeping, and we are going to talk about our unpacking thought, or we will unpack the PlayStation Showcase after we unpack Unpacking. Did I say unpack enough there?
Yeah.
I did watch it and stream it on my channel earlier. I've also tried something and uploaded my reactions to YouTube.
How's it doing
to my
so
YouTube
far?
channel. I have no idea. Probably not great. I even made a thumbnail of my face.
I saw that. That
And
pretty
put it
good.
on.
Pretty good.
Let me check it out
Would you?
So-
real quick.
What program did you use to make that thumbnail?
GIMP.
Just GIMP? Yeah, that's all
Yeah.
right.
I'm trying. I'm trying to learn new things. I need to become better at this type of stuff. So we'll talk about the games and stuff in a second. I need to find a list of what actually was announced there, because I've forgotten a lot of it, which is either a good thing or well, it's not a good thing. Let's be honest.
It's not a good thing.
No.
No.
It's not a good thing. So that being said, before we jump into our unpacking of Unpacking, let's talk about some of the other things we've been playing. So let's start off here. Oh, my what's news over here. So Kozi, you have completed Legends Arceus. Now, does that mean finished or completed?
I finished the main campaign. I've not completed all of the like post game stuff or the Pokédex, but indeed I rolled credits on it.
Okay, so you rolled credits.
Yes.
So I've heard so much about Pokemon, and this isn't your only Pokemon thing. You've got 3 minutes to tell me what you think about the Pokemon Legends Arceus. I'm kidding. Take as much time as you need.
I mean, I actually would have appreciated if you actually really enforced that, because I feel like I tend to ramble a little bit. Whatever. Let's get on to it. Okay. Pokemon Legends Arceus is a game that has had quite a roller coaster of a time on this podcast. When the game came out, we were all kind of mixed on it. Mitch really loved it. Myself and AJ enjoyed it, but had major qualms with it. When we had Jacob McCourt on, he talked about some of his issues with the game too. TLDR, I think that we all appreciated the game's attempt to kind of mix up the Pokemon formula, but didn't really love how much it placed an emphasis on catching Pokemon over battling and bonding with them. And at least like in my case, I was just really kind of downtrodden at the idea that this was indicative of the direction that the Pokemon games were to go in the future. I felt like they really kind of lost something in making Legends Arceus and didn't like the idea that from here on out, every subsequent Pokemon game would follow suit. Then what happened was about a week ago, 2 new Pokemon games, Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, were announced. And while there still is not a lot that we know about them, what we have been shown of them would seem to suggest that while they are taking cues from Pokemon Legends Arceus, you know, they feature a kind of big open world that you can explore at your leisure, for example, they're going to adhere a little bit more closely to the kind of traditional Pokemon formula that we know. And that gave me the kind of confidence and energy to kind of go back to Pokemon Legends Arceus and complete it with a bit of a kind of new perspective on it. That perspective being Pokemon Legends Arceus is not necessarily indicative of what the Pokemon series is going to become 100% in the future. It's just a very high budget spin-off, like for example Pokemon Ranger or Pokemon Conquest or any of these other memorable Pokemon spin-offs before it, and should be treated as such. And treating it as such, I really found myself quite enjoying it, enough to the point that, you know, I was able to ultimately get through to the end and actually complete it. I think that while the experience is definitely still not without its qualms, I think that the game's final few hours really kind of ramped up in a way that I found very satisfying. There's a particularly like unexpectedly dark moment that happens towards the end of it that I won't spoil on this podcast just because it's kind of new, that I am excited to eventually see you get to, AJ, if you're going to get to it. And I do
I'll get
want to
there
say,
eventually.
we'll get to that in a minute. I do want to say, like, I've said this on the podcast in the past. I think that Mitch has, you know, echoed similar sentiments as well. Like, the writing in the Pokemon series has gotten consistently better and better and better over time. And I really do feel like if the Pokemon games looked like the kind of games that we typically praise for their writing and storytelling, if Pokemon had kind of the production values that you would expect out of like, not even like Uncharted or a Last of Us, but even something like the most recent Life is Strange game, for example, I feel like people would really like herald the Pokemon games as being like one of these more strongly written series out there. Um, and that's all I'll say on the matter for the sake of not going head first into spoilers. So, AJ, you actually have been making a little bit of progress on Legends Arceus yourself over the past week.
Yeah. I finally had a chance to sit down and play it for like a handful of hours over the weekend. It was my birthday weekend, so that time was mine to do with what I wanted. And so that's what I wanted to do, is just sit down and veg out for a few hours one day and do that. I finally beat the fourth dude. I won't name the dude, but what are they called again? The Lord?
Yeah, the Lords.
Yeah, the Lords, essentially. So that gives you a little perspective as to where I'm at. That guy was a bit of a pain in the ass. But I'm still mixed on it, but I'm still enjoying it. I still think that they have a long way to go to kind of make it. It's a Nintendo property. They all, in some ways, have a long way to go. Apparently, except Zelda, everybody has to catch up to Zelda now. But
I wish they would.
Yeah. What was my train of thought there? Oh, I don't think. So looking forward, with Scarlet and Violet, I don't think there's enough time for them to have learned the lessons they needed to learn from this to implement them into Scarlet and Violet. Scarlet and Violet, being a mainline game, is absolutely going to get a better budget. It's probably going to look better and run a lot better, and the whole thing is going to be overall better to an extent. But I definitely don't think they're going to implement all of the lessons they needed to implement from this. But I do think it's looking like I skipped Sword and Shield. I got Sun and Moon and didn't really care for it. I skipped Sword and Shield, and so maybe this will get me back in, depending on the gimmick that they choose to go with. We'll see.
Well, like, I'm curious, what would you say are like the biggest lessons that they need to take away from Arceus in crafting Scarlet and Violet? Because, like I said at the top, I think that the advantage of that Scarlet and Violet have is because they're going to be a little bit more traditional, they won't fall into some of the pitfalls that we had with Arceus's design. Namely, once again, their like overemphasis on catching over battling, for example.
Yeah. So I mostly feel like the biggest lesson that they needed to learn is to make their open world feel more alive, because it was amazing at first, right? When you first walked around the landscape in Legends Arceus. But then, like, as time wore on, and like, it's just, you go to essentially what is within one map, a new biome in that map, that, oh look, now there's Geodudes, and only Geodudes up this rocky trail, right? Which, yes, in a way is kind of similar to the mainline games, but brought in with improved with influences from something like Breath of the Wild. But I think so, with regards to like the catching issue that I had with it previously, like, I still feel the same way. But to better articulate it, I think the Pokemon in your party need to feel more like characters, and you need to be able to interact with them differently at this point moving forward, because otherwise it just sort of they become tools as opposed to as opposed to friends. You don't necessarily form that bond with them, right? And if they could make it similar to like Let's Go, where Pikachu was a character, but if they could find a way to do that for a lot of the Pokemon, I think that would improve it a lot more than, and I don't think they have enough time with that releasing this year for them to do that. So,
okay. Well, I mean, I suppose we'll have to wait a little bit longer to get some of the answers to those questions at this point. Not a whole lot we can do at the moment.
You okay there, Nathan?
Yeah, I'm good.
Nathan really hardcore zoned out during that.
Yeah, no, he was imagining taking in all the words we were saying, and he's probably got it memorized at this point.
Yeah, he really should have set that 3 minute. He should have set that 3 minute time limit, and he's really regretting it now.
Yep. I'm considering playing a Pokemon game while I'm on vacation, so we'll discuss what I think maybe about Brilliant Diamond, or I don't know which one, Shining Pearl my son has, because I have to play something on Switch while I'm gone, because I'm not dragging my Xbox with me.
Come
on. The plane it's like $56 a check bag. So no.
It's you get one carry-on, one personal item, so you can pick or choose which one is.
No, you don't get a carry-on in this one. It costs $56 too. I'm taking the super budget area.
Oh, fucking A. Okay.
So my Switch is coming with me. So I thought maybe I'd dive into that and see. I liked Sword when I played it, or Shield. I can't remember which one. Fine. I'm curious about how an old school one is going to feel. So I'm considering that. And maybe when I come back, I'll have tales to regale about Pokemon. Probably not. So Kozi, well, let's just get the Pokemon rock block out of the way. Tell me about Pokemon Emerald's Battle Frontier. Your first time ever beating it? I think this is a big deal.
I can assure you, Nathan, that this particular Pokemon segment will actually take 3 minutes. All right. Let's queue up a quick little video. We rarely play videos here on Press YYZ, but I think this one is deserving of being played. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Alexander Kazina, and it is a momentous occasion. I'm finally about to obtain the gold medal at Pokemon Emerald's Battle Arena. Right now, I am down to the last Pokemon on the opponent's side. I still have all 3 of my Pokemon, so things are going well for me. All right. That is Starmie, by the way. Unfortunately for her, my Starmie has Psychic. There we go. Is it going to be a one-hit KO? The last Pokemon in her party.
Breloom isn't really meant to withstand hits like that. Yep, it's a one-hit KO. Player defeated Arena Tycoon Greta. No joke, I have been trying to beat this thing since fucking 2005. Woo! Huh? Are you serious? Hell yeah, I'm serious. Do you know how many freaking Pokemon I had to breed to come up with the exact combination that would allow me to kill you? Not kill you, just, defeat you. It's a momentous day.
So, yeah, TLDR, in 2005, a little game called Pokemon Emerald version came out. Pokemon Emerald version was an enhanced version of Ruby and Sapphire that contained a facility in its post-game called the Battle Frontier. Basically, a composite of 7 different kind of Pokemon battling facilities that all had kind of unique and unusual rules that made getting through them really, really kind of difficult. You have one facility where it's all very kind of luck based, and there's Pokemon that are afflicting you with status afflictions every which way. There's another one where you're like going through like an underground labyrinth in pitch darkness, and you're collecting items along the way. I had managed to complete all 6 of these facilities over the years following the game's release, except for one last one called the Battle Arena because its rules were just that devilish. But finally, after years and years of attempts, refining my team, becoming intimately familiar with the facility and the kinds of Pokemon I could face within it, I finally managed to beat it. And yeah, not much else to say other than I'm happy that I can finally get on with the rest of my freaking life. Jesus.
So that has been the exact same save file all this time, or have you like restarted over the years and like done it again, or
yes. The thing is that like back when I was playing this game for the first time in 2005, you know, I had no qualms with like restarting the game and starting it over again with another starter when I would get bored. Eventually, at some point, I want to say in like late 2005, 2006, I started the save file that would become the save file that I currently still have in front of me right here and now. So not like, it's not the save file that I like started from the moment that I, you know, got the game in 2005, but pretty close.
Cool. So what you need to do now is find a way to dump that save file onto your computer so you can always have it just in case the battery dies in the cartridge.
As it would happen, I actually already got an R4 card, which I have.
Perfect.
That's why I'm playing it on a DS, because you need to plug the R4 card into the DS slot, and that will allow you to save your GBA data. I have not saved this particular feat because it happened literally right before the stream started, but once the stream is over, you know that I will most definitely be saving my progress.
Absolutely.
Great.
All right, Nathan.
Cool.
Poke Talk's over. You can move on.
Oh, thank God. I'm kidding. Mostly.
Thank Arceus.
Thank Arceus. Oh, because Arceus is a god. I'm aware of that, right? Yep. It's a god of Pokemon. That's why it's funny, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I see. I understood that reference.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I got two games to talk about quickly, and I will keep them quick. I think 2 weeks ago, I told you guys that I had started Broken Sword 5, The Serpent's Curse. It was a Games with Gold game that came out, and it's essentially an old school point and click adventure. And it started with an art theft that left somebody dead, and you're an insurance adjuster trying to find out what happened. So you don't have to pay your policy out because it seemed weird. And you're exploring everything and trying to figure out what's happened. And then there's more murders as you're solving it. It's actually, and now it's evolved from murders to there's a religious artifact that you have to try and track down.
Ooh.
The stories just kept going. I think I'm like 75% way through the game. And yeah, I know it's really fun. If you like old school point and click adventures, I don't want to say too much, but Broken Sword 5, The Serpent's Curse, very good. It's actually one of the notorious things about the first Broken Sword is it has one of the hardest puzzles ever conceived in a game. Whenever you look at a top 10 list of hardest puzzles, this will show up there because nobody can figure out how to do the stupid goat thing.
The stupid goat thing.
There's a puzzle that involves a goat that you have to do things in a specific order to do it. And like without a guide, it's almost impossible to figure out unless it's dumb luck. So color me surprised when I'm playing the new one, Broken Sword 5, and I come across a goat. And the main character is like, oh no.
An NFT.
So,
okay. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So Broken Sword 5, check it out. Super fun. Number 2, I talked about earlier how I've been playing WWE 2K22 recently. I played it early on Monday by setting my time zone to New Zealand and was able to play it in the afternoon. And I streamed it Monday night and Tuesday night. I'm going to continue streaming it. So I told you guys that I platinumed 2K20 last year. I don't know if you guys are aware, but that game's apparently a dumpster fire. Are you guys aware?
Apparently, I am aware of that.
I am asking this purely for scientific purposes. Like, legitimately, this is not the kind of game that I would seek out to platinum, even if it was easy. But like, was it an easy platinum?
No.
No. But it was,
Um,
with your like prior experience with wrestling games, it was a manageable platinum at least.
Yes. Yeah, it's a manageable platinum because I understood the systems. Like when I played 2K20, a lot of muscle memory came back about how to play it,
I see.
if that makes sense. So, and as I started to figure out the maneuvers and doing everything, I kind of went through it. And it was not like I was playing in March of 2021. So it was not the dumpster fire that it was when it launched.
Okay.
Let me put it that way.
Okay.
So that being said, they've skipped a year yearly release. This is almost 2 years since the last game they've done. And I'm here to tell you, WWE 2K22 better than 2K20.
Nice.
Not willing to say it's good, but you're at least going to say it's better.
No, wait, I'm not done yet. It's
Oh.
better than 2K19, which people like.
Ooh.
Okay.
Not a lot better, but it is better. The graphics look good. So I talked about the muscle memory that I had. They've completely switched the control scheme up, which has messed up my muscle memory completely.
Okay.
But I'm learning it, and I'm getting through. They've done a lot of cool things, some not so great things. There's this faction mode that I think is like the ultimate team modes that you'd play in other games where you have to use currency for cards to play it, which isn't great. But they have a universe mode, which I haven't touched a whole lot, but people seem to like. They have a GM mode, which apparently is shallow, but people have been wanting that for years. There's a story mode called My Rise, which people are liking. I haven't dived a huge amount in. What I have focused on, and I finished before the show started, is the showcase mode. Are you guys familiar with a wrestler named Rey Mysterio Jr.?
I have heard that name before.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that definitely I remember was memed on the internet a little bit when that Spider-Man movie came out, because of course, what else are you going to do? I don't know anything else about him.
Yeah. Okay. So Rey Mysterio Jr. is one of the supreme Mexican high flyers. He's a legend. He's been around for, God, he was wrestling in 96 when I first started watching wrestling, 97. So he's been around forever. He's still going. He's still one of the best. He still competes at a super high level. He's a luchador, so he flies all around the ring. He's the cover athlete this year, and they basically did a showcase. And they do showcases regularly. And what they do is they typically have like some sort of, they walk you through their history of their history in general. And you'll do certain matches, and they'll have like a video clip before the match talking about what led to this match, what it meant to them, that type of thing. Which is always cool. I like watching that archival footage when it comes to old matches. What they did was really cool this time, though, because there's basically objectives that you have to do during the match. Like it's like do a grapple and then hit light attack or heavy attack, or do a springboard attack off the top rope. Like to do these objectives throughout the match so that you can kind of recreate the match as it was. But then there will be scenes that come up where the computer kind of takes over because it's hard for you to just perform that in the ring. And instead of just showing the computer doing it like it's just being a cutscene, they actually bring the actual clips of the match and they just kind of phase right into it.
He just got up and left.
Yeah. I stayed for Pokemon.
You stayed for Pokemon. He can't stay for... How rude.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So they kind of just phases right in with the match. So into the like real life archival footage, and then phases back out into the game when you're ready to take control over again. Super cool. I'm really enjoying it. I beat it. It's hard. Very, very hard. Very, very hard. But I did all 100%ed that showcase mode before we started today. So
Good
pretty
job.
happy. I will probably be talking about this game more in the future, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. And expect me to be streaming that live on _NMAC on Twitch. And if you haven't followed me yet, please do. I'm going to try not to do that too much, but I'm sorry to do that.
Yeah, it's fine.
So much.
You're
It's
more
fine.
than free to, what's the term? Like shack your wares.
Maybe we should reintroduce the pitch yourself at the end of the show again, so we can get it out of the way there.
Yeah. So it's good. If you enjoy wrestling, this is a good wrestling game. You should check it out. All right.
Before we move on, I just want to
yes.
quickly show off the goat from Broken Sword 5 here real quick. Gotta say, that's a much more magnificent looking goat than I was anticipating it to look like. I thought we were going to get like a real derpy, like low tier NFT
The screaming
goat.
It's a good looking goat.
It is a good looking goat. So yeah, and this is actually funny because apparently I didn't do the right things to get an achievement where the goat talks to you.
What?
So I have to go back and do those things to get. You have to feed him certain things, and he can't attack your other character because that's the girl
Okay.
Nico. You play as two characters, George and Nico, and you switch between them.
Mhm.
And the goat constantly rams George if you're not careful, and if you get too close, he'll like ram you. Where the goat loves Nico. It's pretty funny dynamic, actually.
By the way,
Looper Match.
hello
Sorry,
to
go ahead.
Looper Metroid. Thanks
Yeah.
for tuning in. We actually can bring up our Twitter handles at a moment's notice, like such. Behold and be dazzled. People
Yes.
who are listening to the audio only version of this are going to be real confused. But hey, it's okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nathan, take the wheel back from me because I'm quickly about to go into a curb.
Okay. So that being said, let's jump in and talk about Unpacking. We
I
all
need
played
to.
Unpacking. Oh,
Well, we did. I need to tag out and get Rachel in here.
that's
I'll be
right.
right
We're
back.
taking Rachel in. More special guests. Oh, I should get my puppy ready for her.
Well, it's just the Cozy Cast now. Hey, everybody. It's been a little while
I'm
since we've been able to... so much for the Cozy Cast.
It wasn't going to be long. Say hello, Hazel.
Hazel seems awfully shy. Hello.
Hi, friends.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey.
How are you?
Not bad. We heard you played
Good.
some Unpacking.
I did. I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much that I was late to a best friend's birthday party
Oh, wow. You
because
must
I
have really loved it.
couldn't. Oh, well, I had this feeling like it was almost over, so I just thought I'll just keep going, and then I was correct.
Yeah.
I loved it. We played the whole. How many hours do you
It's
think?
about 3.3 hours, I think it said.
Okay, so about 3.5 hours. I still haven't gone back to get all the little achievement stickers. I'd love to do that because I found one by accident because I didn't know they were a thing.
Which one did you find?
I don't remember what it was called, but we put two teddy bears beside each other.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So best friends or something like that.
In the crib,
and-
right?
Yes, in the crib at the final house. Yeah. And then I was like, wait, what? There's all these stickers? I want the stickers. So I have to go back and get those at some point. But I loved it.
If you follow a guide, it takes like 5 minutes to get all the achievements. You can pop
I
in
don't
and
think
out.
it would take much, but it's just more now that I know they exist, I want them all.
Yes.
I will say it definitely feels like a game by a woman for women. There were so many little things like on the screen here. I'm seeing that they're playing in the bedroom, but there's so many little things like stupid things like in the bathroom, like that are like there's actual tampons and there's loofahs and all this kind of stuff that like. No offense, guys, but you probably don't think of that stuff. And so you could really tell that like a real woman who cares made it. And we spoke of the teddy bears. Like I love the continuity stuff like that, where she has those bears from well, like it starts when she's a little kid, right? And so and the bears you can tell like they're getting loved. They're a little scruffier and a little bit discolored, or little posters here and there, or the same, like a weird one I noticed is all the art supplies look the same no matter where she was in time. So just those little details really got me. Yeah, I loved it. I totally loved it. I want more. I want another story.
So and I think I echo a lot of the same sentiments that you do here. I think there's a neat continuity, especially because I think I didn't know what I knew what I was gonna get. I thought this was a game about unpacking rooms. What I didn't realize was that there was going to be a narrative tied upon each move. and the age progressing and
Mhm.
what you're unpacking as you go on. Because you start as you're essentially a little girl.
Yeah,
the
like
first one,
you
right?
start as a little kid for sure, like 7, 8 years old, something like you've got like a diary you can hide under your pillow, like
Yeah.
that kind of age, all the way up to becoming a parent in the end.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool. And like it has moving out for college and then moving in
Yep.
with roommates and then moving
Mhm.
in with your first boyfriend and then moving back. Then this was the one that got me, moving back into your parents'
Yeah.
house. I was like, why
Yeah,
do I only
he
have
was
2 rooms
sucky.
here?
I noticed, I knew right away that he was going to be sucky. He had too much stuff and he wasn't sharing his space.
Yeah.
You could tell, like, just the way, because when you get to that level where you're moving in with the boyfriend,
Yep.
you can't move his stuff.
Yes.
With
It
the
was locked in
roommates, I
place.
understand. I understand with a roommate, right? You don't touch your roommate's stuff. But when you couldn't move the boyfriend stuff to like make space for yourself, I was like, this is suspicious. I don't know about this.
So this game has a lot of great environmental storytelling. A nice little piece of environmental storytelling that I appreciated in the boyfriend's apartment is that there's no space for you to put your college certificate on the wall anywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to keep
You
it
have to
underneath
stick it under the
You
bed.
have to put it under the bed.
And it's like,
you can see
go
on
ahead.
the screen now, it's showing the flashing red. So I did appreciate that it is still a bit of a puzzle. It's not just like a free-for-all. So in that case, I tried really hard to hang that certificate on the wall, but there was no space, and I tried putting it on the bed. I tried putting it on a coffee table or something, like a way to sort of display it not on the wall, and you just couldn't. It just wasn't possible.
Yeah.
That environmental storytelling was excellent.
And
Yeah.
you
It really told you a lot.
But what's good is that like the game, leaves you with just enough wiggle room to kind of like make up your own mind. Maybe
Right.
that her having to keep her certificate under the bed was representative that she was like overly kind of like focused on him at that point in her life, or maybe it truly is meant to represent that the relationship was really kind of tumultuous. We know from the following chapter that seemingly things didn't end super well because you have to put their portrait together away in her cupboard.
Drawer.
But the game isn't like super explicit in terms of exactly what happened. The game allows you to kind of like fill in the blanks where you can.
Well, I think he was an asshole. And
he was an asshole. But then she ends up happy in the end with her house and her baby, and like, and what I love is another part of the storytelling is that you don't ever actually see who you are, not really.
Yep.
Right? There's like little pictures. We can see, like you were saying, how you had to put the picture away with the crappy boyfriend, but you never really know who you are. So you can be anybody. You can be you. Like I felt like I was me. Or it allows that ability to, and you can style it your own way. Yes, you can't put like the cooking pot on your bed, but you can put certain like books in the way you want it or whatever. So there is a certain amount of freedom with that, which I really liked, because AJ sort of sat beside me and played, but I did most of the playing, and I had lots of opinions when I let him play for him, and I was like, you're doing it wrong. It's supposed to be organized this way or that way. And that I loved that you could have that little bit of freedom within the confines of the game.
Yeah. No, I thought that was really cool. And even like they tease at the end of the game what her job is. And you get a good idea of how her past has grown up into being her job. And I don't want to spoil that because I think it's a really cool.
It's a fun moment.
Revelation. But really it tells a strong narrative without ever uttering a single word, just from you unpacking belongings. And go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, you're saying there's no words, but the music, it was just perfect. Yep. It was like this zen, like chill, like you don't have to overthink it. The music kind of sucked you in a little bit. I mean, you could easily pop on a podcast or other music at the same time if you wanted to, but the music was just right. It had that suck you in kind of energy to zone you out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Kozi, you haven't talked as much. It's been Rachel and I mostly talking. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I reflect a lot of your opinions. As you guys said, the game is very kind of zen, and the music really kind of sucks you in, and it becomes very kind of therapeutic and enjoyable to just, pack this stuff and, unpack this stuff. I almost got the game completely
Right.
wrong and
Yeah.
backwards. And I really love how there's like a degree of self expression to be had in terms of where you're unpacking some of the things. I definitely had moments as I was playing where I was like, oh man, I'm the game seems to suggest that maybe you should put your pots or your cutlery here, but I'm putting my pots or cutlery in this other location because that's the way that we've always done it. And so it's definitely made me kind of reflect on myself and my own kind of domicile. Um, I will say, I do think that I may have done myself a little bit of a disservice waiting not until the 11th hour, but pretty close to the podcast to complete this game. I want to very quickly switch over to twitter.com because whenever we here at Press YYZ are playing through any of our YYZ review games, you at home are more than free to tweet at us your thoughts on the games that we're playing, or slide into our Discord at invite.gg/PressYYZ to share your thoughts on our games there. And we actually got quite a bit of feedback on Unpacking this week. At
did we?
Jackpot, yes, we did, in fact. At Jackpot on
Huh.
Twitter says, loved Unpacking last year. It's pretty subtle narratively. Loved how relatable the feeling of opening a box and finding a sentimental item can be in real life. But it's a shame that I felt the game lost a bit of steam towards the end and became a bit tedious. Overall, a great game. At Darth Stridius, a longtime fan of the show, responded to that tweet and said, I agree. Near the end of the game, there were so many boxes and stuff. I wish there was an easier way to get items out of the box, but of course it removes what is unpacking. And then I tweeted about unpacking myself the other night, and a mutual follower of mine at The Last Pez responded to me, said, I never finished it because of this reason. This reason being that it is a little bit long. Each level gets longer and less satisfying to me. Ultimately, Unpacking is not an especially long game. As AJ indicated at the top, it's like 3 to 4 hours, if that. But I do find myself somewhat echoing the sentiment that, yeah, like once you get to the final couple of levels, you do eventually get to a point where it does feel a little bit more like you're going through the motions again, and that there isn't as much kind of new content to be explored. But I do kind of wonder, and maybe this is like too like big brained of a theory, if that almost is sort of the point, that like unpacking is not as glamorous of an activity as you grow older, because it just doesn't carry the kind of freshness that it does when you're a child, and it just becomes another kind of rote thing that you're trying to do, and that's the whole point, as it were, late in the game. But that's just how I felt. I know that, not everybody's on the same page as me.
I definitely hear what you're saying about this. It does get tedious. I liked it start to finish, but I like the thought that you're having about how, as you as a person get older, packing and unpacking just becomes less fun, right? Your first apartment is super fun, but maybe your like third, fourth, fifth, sixth move is way less fun. I did appreciate that it took out the like truly boring parts of packing, where when your box is empty, right, you just click on it and it's gone.
Right.
You don't have to like get out the box cutter and get it in the recycling bin and all those genuinely horrible parts of unpacking that just totally suck. But yeah, I that's an interesting thought that I hadn't thought about with the story, because at the end there are a lot of rooms. When you're in that final house, there are quite a lot of rooms. And there were some things I found where I just didn't know where to put them. There were a few items where you're like, I don't know what this is, because it wasn't like specific, like it was just a box, right? And maybe you couldn't tell exactly what the image on it was. Or you try a bunch of places. Can't remember what it was, but there was one that I think we sat there for about 5 minutes trying to figure out where it belonged, because it was just so nondescript of an item. But other than that, I loved it. 10 out of 10. Would recommend.
Did you, in the accessibility settings, you actually have the option to make it so that you can just put items wherever it is that you want to put them in your house. Did you ever rely on that?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
That was an option?
No.
I didn't know. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
use it. I think you lose some of the puzzle part, but
out of
Go
curiosity, I clicked on accessibility. The only one that caught my eye was that you could change the color of the outline of the like if you got it wrong, it defaulted to red, but you could pick the I didn't know you could. Interesting.
Yeah, full spoilers, because it was getting pretty close to the start of the podcast. I did that just for the last puzzle, because I was like, I don't want to spend too much time. Like, I'm already kind of pretty long in the tooth here figuring out where some of the things have to go. So sorry to the, two people that just moved into this house. You're going to have a lot of towels in your bathtub for whatever reason. But I did make an honest college try at the end.
I have one major complaint about the game.
Uh-oh.
It's kind of a joke complaint, actually. But in the final house, there's a bunch of the same book in one of the rooms, and I can't put it in the baby's room.
Yes, I agree. It seems like that's where it should be.
You should at least be able to put one copy there, and
correct.
You can't.
Yes.
So that was number one. I thought that it's a very small thing, but I thought for the narrative it would, and I actually thought that would have unlocked an achievement or a sticker.
Yeah.
If you did
absolutely.
that, that's what I was kind of aiming towards there, and you just couldn't do it at all. And I was like, really?
It seems like the kind of book that should be in there for sure.
100%. So number one, and I get the criticism that it goes on almost a little too long, because I started to feel that near the end. But I think the one positive is, and you understand this as you move into bigger houses and to bigger stuff, as you get more room, your stuff just spreads out among different rooms. So you'd go into some rooms and there'd be like 2 boxes. And you'd be able to put it away much quicker. Like you were able to distribute your stuff quite a bit quicker in those final ones. I think when you just get to that final house, there's like 10 rooms, it feels like, and that feels like it's going to take an eternity. You're close to the end. And I almost would have liked to see this even push further to the person's death and them going to an old folks home or something.
Yeah, where you have to downsize.
You have to start downsizing. Like your kids move out, and
or you turn their bedroom into your exercise room.
Yep.
So you have to, because there is a point where she expands her own space, like when she's living by herself.
Yes.
You actually do her own first apartment twice. So you could do that kind of in reverse. That could be a fun expansion to the end of the story. Maybe that's the next part.
Yes.
Maybe that's Unpacking 2, where it keeps going.
So overall, I really like the game. I'd probably say this is like a 4 out of 5 for me. It's very, very good, and I think people should play it. And I think just for the narrative, the way it weaves a story through without telling you a story, I think is very admirable. And like I said, if you're paying attention and you're seeing stuff, and please patch the game and let me put the book in the baby's room. I don't know why I can't put the book in the baby's room.
Again,
it should be allowed to go there.
Do the accessibility option. You'll be able to put your book wherever you want to put it. Put it in the bathtub.
So, Kozi, where are you going with this?
I think I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. And I know that sounds really, really harsh. I know that sounds like I'm a real Debbie Downer. I think for me, it's just that I feel like they could have accomplished what they were trying to do with this game in fewer levels, in a lesser amount of time. And I feel like we would have walked away with a slightly better, more refined product. As it stands, though, I think that Unpacking is really kind of special. And I think much like, what was that Drinkbox game? Nobody Saves the World. Much like Nobody Saves the World, which we also gave around a 3 out of 5 to a couple weeks back when we reviewed that game. I think this is one of those games where if you are a fan of this kind of game that is very kind of zen and focused on, contemplating kind of the nature of life and who you are, and, trying to puzzle out who these people are through their lives and their domiciles, I think you're going to really kind of get a lot out of it. There were enough sticking points in it that I feel like I can't go as far as a 4 out of 5. but I still think it is really good. And I hope that you guys aren't distraught that I'm being kind of the person bringing down the grade here.
Nope. You know what? Every game's people are gonna react differently too. So,
Absolutely.
and not everything's gonna hit with everybody, and that's what makes people cool. Is that people like different things.
Aw.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, Rachel, thank you for joining us.
Oh,
We're
you're
glad
very
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thanks
got
for
a chance to
having
play
me.
this. No problem.
I'll send it back to this guy who knows a few more things than I do about games.
Boo.
Thanks.
I booed AJ. I don't know if you heard.
Before
Hey.
we move on to the last segment of the podcast, do you have any additional thoughts that you wanted to share on Unpacking, or you kind of right there with
No,
Rachel?
yeah, I was like right there with her the whole time. I thought it was super fun. I think what I enjoyed most was her enjoyment of it. Is it something that I would have tuned out of partway through? Possibly, if I was on my own. She just said from the other room, yes. So, well, I don't know, but I think what kept me engrossed in it was her excitement for what was happening next and her anticipation for it. So
Cool.
my experience was also a 5 out of 5. So
All
Sweet.
right, there we go.
All right. Well, that's Unpacking. Next week we are doing Art of the Rally. So you don't have to finish it. Don't feel obliged to try and finish it. Just give it a try. It's a racing game. Once you get through a few levels, you kind of get an idea of how it feels.
yeah, I think it's just called Art of Rally.
Or Art of Rally, sorry.
Yeah.
So
in case somebody looks for it and they can't find it.
well, it's like I always want to call King of Fighters King of the Fighters. I feel like putting the in there makes a lot of sense, but Grimmat, I don't know. Regardless, we're going to shift gears a little bit. PlayStation had a state of play today, and boy, was it a state of play. Look, I'm the PlayStation apologist. Stale of play. I'm the PlayStation apologist on this podcast, and I think this has probably been their worst one. I think, for me at least, and I think once again, this is going to hit differently for different people, based upon what you see here. But let's unpack it quickly and talk about some of the games as we go through here. Get our opinions. If we have an opinion, maybe we just move on. If we don't have an opinion,
Before we
jump
talk
about it, because I
do want to just like very quickly kind of give my top level thoughts. Like, yeah, it was.
Oh yes, sorry, my apologies.
It wasn't great. It wasn't an all timer, but I really got to give props to Capcom and Square Enix and these other big Japanese publishers for just constantly taking swings. Like, we are often critical of the AAA video game scene for, being very safe, constantly going back to tried and true IPs. It feels like every single year, Square Enix and Capcom announce like 5 to 6 completely new, completely outrageously titled ideas that don't always work, but you have to respect the hustle.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. AJ, did you get a chance to watch the whole thing?
Yeah, I did. It was so I'm sitting here trying to remember what was in it, and the two things that kind of caught my attention the most were the now delayed Forspoken, I guess, which still looks really good, and actually seeing more gameplay from it really makes me wish Scalebound wasn't canceled, because a little bit of gameplay footage we saw from Scalebound was very reminiscent of some of the stuff. At the very least, my memory of Scalebound was very reminiscent of some of that stuff in that. And then there was this new Capcom thing that is not Dino Crisis, but involves dinosaurs. Exoprimal. That looks super cool in its own way. It looks like another horde-based, kill all the things before they kill you in a team sort of. At first, I could have sworn it was going to be Anthem, but then they showed dinosaurs, and I was very confused. But came out of it looking super. It seems exciting. So
yes. Okay. Well, let's jump right into Exoprimal. I'll tell you right now, I was watching that and I was like, this looks like Dino Crisis. And then I saw the Capcom logo, and I'm like, oh my god, this is Dino Crisis. And then it wasn't Dino Crisis. Oh, and then I was like, wow, this is like Dino Crisis and Anthem. Very much the same thoughts you had,
Yeah.
AJ. But then, yeah, it was called Exo Primal. I don't know why they just didn't call it Dino Crisis. That name has cachet to it, even if they completely changed what it is. Just use the name.
I'm not going to lie.
I agree.
If this was what Anthem was, I would have been way more excited for it. I love the idea that each level starts with like a weather broadcast. It's like, oh man, hundreds of dinosaurs at 12 o'clock sharp. Like, look at all those dinos.
Yeah, just falling out of the sky. It's
Like,
super
wouldn't
cool.
they go splat when they hit the ground? Would they not die?
No. Oh
Well,
no.
you get a pile big enough, eventually it'll break the fall of some, and then the rest of them will come running after you.
Dinosaurs are forever,
Maybe they're-
Nathan. Don't forget.
Maybe they're specially engineered dinosaurs. This didn't really speak to me. The multiplayer horde shooter type thing doesn't really work for me. But what did you guys think? AJ, you were kind of already elaborated. This seemed interesting to you. Kozi, what do you think?
I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, all like jokes aside, it is disappointing that this looks like another games as a service game that's going to go to the way of the dodo real fast. I was trying to think of a dinosaur name, but I mean, technically all dinosaurs are extinct, so I guess I should have just said the way of the dinosaur. But I gotta respect the fucking weird ass quirky tone of this game. Like, the more I watch of this trailer again, the more I gotta salute Capcom for being just so balls to the walls. Once again, these guys take big, crazy swings every single year, and they don't always work out, but we'll always have this trailer that we can fawn over wistfully.
Looper Matroid in the chat has dubbed it Left for Dinos.
Oh, that's a good take. I like that.
Yeah, it's super funny. Yeah. So, and I do appreciate. He's also saying he thinks it's nice and that it doesn't take itself too seriously, which I agree with. It had a very silly feel to it, which I guess with this type of premise, you want to lean into a little bit more. So
yeah.
So that's Exoprimal. Now we got more Ghostwire Tokyo. I wasn't sure we needed this. It's coming out March 25th, I believe. Soon, late March. It's in the 20s, around the 25th, if it's not the 25th. And we just had like not a showcase, but after the Gran Turismo state of play they did last month, they did another like 10-minute video for this too. So I was a little surprised to see it here, but it's about to launch, so I think they want to get that final marketing push.
It's becoming
the
next
new
Deathloop. Yeah. Deathloop released, and we'll probably not get any more trailers because it's exclusively Xbox now. So they got to find a replacement.
Yep. Deathloop Ghostwire Tokyo. It's coming out. It looks more actiony than it does horror, which is interesting because this is from the Evil Within team.
Okay.
So, but people seem higher on it after that last trailer, and I think this is going to do the same thing and bring more eyes onto it for people who didn't see that last thing. Then before I move on, what were any thoughts from you guys before I steamroll through this?
It looks better and better with each trailer. We'll see if it turns out great.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I'm not a big horror fan necessarily, but I would be curious about it. That's for sure.
All right, I'm going to try it on Game Pass when it comes out after a year of exclusivity.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'll wait for.
So then next up, and I don't know, as I talked about how I reacted to this on my Twitch channel, and the 10 minutes before I was putting guesses, I didn't even think about mentioning Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. I was thinking we'd see 16 here, and that would be a home run to have 16 here in some fashion because of how absent it's been. However, they have put Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. I believe that is out at any point as well. It comes out in March, I believe.
I know it comes out soon. Is it March?
I think it's March.
Whatever. The game looks good. I actually think I might pick it up just because it's like a fun meme thing to do. But
March 15th.
yeah, I
very
hope it
soon.
turns
next
out
week.
good.
It's very much a Souls Final Fantasy game. This is not what I want from my Final Fantasy games. I told you guys this. I miss that old turn-based style. They're making other games for me, but they're not in the Final Fantasy line anymore, which is too bad. AJ, you don't seem to have many opinions on it.
I've never been a Final Fantasy person.
I think this is the one that would probably get you if you're
Possibly.
not a Final Fantasy person.
I mean, I never got around to Final Fantasy VII Remake either, right? And like, if I was gonna play one, like people said that's the one I needed to play as well, and I just never got around to it. It's just one of those things that it's just I gotta find a PS5 at some point.
Yeah. There is a demo for Stranger of Paradise, I believe, which they just dropped on the store.
Yeah.
That carries over your progress to the game.
Cool.
So if you want to check that out and see if it's for you, at least they're giving you that option. I think Square's been doing that a lot with their demos because RPGs are definitely time intensive and you can put a few hours into a demo. So it's nice not to have to repeat the same first 3 hours again.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so no, that's awesome. Next up, we have Forspoken, which I was a little surprised to see because they just delayed it last week.
I mean, they delayed it last week. I'm guessing because they had to put this trailer out.
Yeah.
So,
I just didn't think we'd see it with a delay on it. Game still looks gorgeous, still looks cool. AJ, you said this one already was speaking to you, and it's doing that again here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's this specific like dragon fight here and everything like that. I don't know why it's reminding me of what I remember of Scalebound, that canceled Xbox game.
Yep.
But I mean, I feel like if this is good, Scalebound could actually have a shot. And a couple of weeks ago, the developer of it tweeted like, "Hey, come on, Phil Spencer, let's pick this thing back up, and we'll see what happens." But I don't know.
So yeah, Kozi, any thoughts on Forspoken?
I mean, again, going
is this
back
our
to
new
what I
death
said
loop?
I mean, I hope so. Going back to what I said at the beginning, like I said, Square Enix tries a lot of new stuff, but every now and then you do kind of really hope that their experiments really pay off, and I hope this is one of those ones that pays off.
All right. Okay, so we're going from Forspoken. Let's talk about Gundam Evolution. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I know there's a fan base for Gundam, the Gundam itself, but I feel like this is going to be DOA.
Okay, so I actually was speaking to a couple of people in one of my Discord servers about this, and they were actually kind of positive about this game. Now, this is a very small sample size. I don't know what the internet at large has to say about this, but they were saying, oh, this actually looks like a quality Gundam game that isn't just one of those, beat up 100 robots like Musou, like Hyrule Warriors style games. But one of my friends was saying they really need to make sure this game is free to play. Otherwise, it will truly be DOA. And I mean, I'm not like intimately familiar of like the kind of business reality of the Gundam games, but I'd like to believe that they're right on the money about that. This game looks like it has way more going for it than any of the prior Gundam games that we're probably all familiar with, but they got to make sure that they make the barrier of entry as low as possible, I think.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. Looper Metroid in the chat is calling this Gundam Overwatch, which I got a ton of Overwatch feels with it.
Which is
good.
I
think you're correct. Yeah, I think you're correct, Kozi, or what they're saying, that this does need to be free to play. I was like, this needs to come on a PlayStation Plus or have some way to build up an instant amount of people who are playing it without a barrier of entry of some sort, whether it's free to play or free on PlayStation Plus. In order to have any sort of community. Because if you can't get that community, this is a non-starter. It's not going to go anywhere. AJ, thoughts on Gundam Evolution?
I don't know why, but it made me want to go back to the PS3 launch title, Gundam Crossfire, and actually give that a go. See if that was as bad as it is reported to be. I actually have a copy of it for some stupid reason.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. But no. I found like what turned me off of it is Gundams are giant mech fighters, and the sense of scale made everything look like they were just Halo Spartans. Like,
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, like,
so it was.
You would appreciate it if it was a little bit more like Titanfall, where you could also see your humans emerging from their Titans.
Yeah, there needs to be. Yeah, like I haven't watched any of the Gundam anime or anything like that, but I don't know how often it deals with like that sense of scale where like you feel like it feels like the character is in a gigantic robot or anything like that. But yeah, that's kind of it. Kind of weirded me out a little bit.
Gundam's always.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I just want to say Looper Metroid in the chat says it is free to play. Just checked. Real good to hear. I'd be interested if this game is like also good in addition to being free to play. I would be interested in checking this out as like a brief YYZ reviewy game, but we'll see about that.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to tell my story. Gundam always reminds me, and it's not the same franchise, but there was an N64 game, which I used to have a poster on my wall from, that came with Nintendo Power. Robotech Crystal Dreams, which I believe is part of the Macross. It involves giant mech robots. But yeah, whenever I think Gundam, I always think about this canceled N64 game, which I had on my wall, which Nintendo Power pushed for years before it was canceled and never shown up anywhere. So... so I'm curious to see how it does. I guess we'll find out. It's free to play, so that's not bad. All right, so next up, I think this was an interesting announcement, and this seemed more like it would be in play for one of the Nintendo Directs, but Sony somehow got this one. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga Collection. And actually, I want to take a peek at what that includes, because it looks like it is probably every Turtles game and different versions from different consoles.
There's a Game Boy game in there.
I think there's 8 and 16 bits. So here I got a full list of what's covered here. So it's got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Turtles in Time Arcade, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles NES, the worst one, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, the Manhattan Project, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighter, and those are all on NES. Now for the SNES, it's got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time, and the SNES version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. So you get both versions of that one. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Hyperstone Heist for Sega Genesis. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters for Sega Genesis. 3 versions of Tournament Fighters, and they are different versions.
Jeez.
They weren't the same. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan for Game Boy, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Back from the Sewers for Game Boy, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 Radical Rescue for Game Boy. The package is going to be $40 American, so I don't know what that's going to be Canadian. But yeah, I really do appreciate that. This is a full-out collection. Like, we remember when they launched, Disney did the Lion King and Aladdin, and you only got one version of them.
Yeah.
I was
going to say, this is on the same level as the, the Rare Retro Replay Collection. That was like 30 games, like 20 of which you had never played or heard of before because they were from like Rare's super early days as a developer. Like, whoever spearheaded this collection is a true like blood in the wool Ninja Turtles fan. I don't think that's a actual idiom, by the way. Somebody can check me on that.
Well, these were developed by Konami.
It's dyed in the wool, by the way. I said blood in the wool. I meant dyed in the wool.
Okay. These were developed by Konami. Konami's actually, well, they haven't been producing many games. They've done some decent collections in terms of the Castlevania stuff recently. So this kind of falls in that. It looks like this is a Konami Nickelodeon combo. But they really went out of the way and made sure they got every single one, and they didn't just do two. Like I could see another company splitting these into 2 releases of some sort. So very interesting to see them all bundled in together. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters is an underrated fighting game, and you get 3 versions of it here, which I think is pretty amazing. So yeah, thoughts on the collection, guys?
I was never really a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. Like, I think back to the theme song fondly. But the I've heard through osmosis like good things about some of the games and stuff. So I'd be interested to check out like the other stuff. And like Looper Matroid says, he in the chat here, he actually kind of liked that they gave multiple versions of the same game. So
yeah. TMNT's never a license that I cared much about, but if you need somebody else to play that TMNT fighting game with you, Nathan, I'll definitely sub in.
Okay. What I would like to see and hear more about is features in terms of like rewinding lives.
Yeah, that's in the trailer. One of the things that flashes in the trailer is like rewinding, so they have all that stuff in it.
Okay, perfect, good. Because some of those beat 'em ups, like it'd be cool if you could just continue to hit start when you die and keep going from where you were, instead of dying and having to restart. Because some of the beat 'em ups aren't great, and that first Ninja Turtles game is impossible. So if they've got a way for people just to beat it so that they can beat it, that'd be great. Because it is. I don't know if you guys have played NES Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It is literally there's a underwater sewer scene where you got to swim through this like electrified algae without touching it, and it's almost impossible to get through. So yeah, and Looper Metroid in the chat is saying that TMNT 1 is also bad. He agrees with me, but everything else is good. Okay, so we've got that, so we're past that. So now we're coming down. I think there's a few cool announcements here as we get towards the end. Gigabash looks like a giant. I'm forgetting the words of giant monsters. What are those called? Like a Godzilla. Kaijus. Thank you. This looks like a super kaiju beat 'em up thing. It reminds me of like the SNES game King of the Monsters. Does this interest you guys at all?
Nope.
Kind of. There was an old Godzilla game I played on the GameCube that I actually really enjoyed. That was not really similar in vein, but this actually seems to have the kind of scale that I'm looking for in a Gundam game. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. So it's Gigabash is a 4-player arena brawler featuring giant monsters, featuring kaijus and heroes. Fully destructible maps. Could be interesting. I don't know. We'll see. Once again, it'll be that barrier. Godzilla, destroy all monsters, melee. Yes, that's what Looper Metroid's saying. I should introduce that.
I think so, yeah.
So, we won't spend a huge amount of time here. It looks interesting. I'm curious about it. Could be cool. Then we have, now this kind of shocked me. I thought this might have been a PlayStation Studios spinoff of Ghost of Tsushima. We've got Trek to Yomi. I think this is probably like the best game of the show. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think I have to see it. Okay. Yeah,
this was the black and white game that, has a kind of distinctive cinematic style.
I think artistically this thing looks phenomenal. And it's definitely one of those art pieces that I think like everybody's going to have to at least put a little bit of time into. Mm-hmm. It's probably one of the most interesting things at the State of Play, but like I said earlier, Forspoken and that other game grabbed me a little bit more than this one did. Is this fully like a side scroller mostly?
It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like there's some cutscenes with other stuff, but all the action's in the side scrolling.
Got it.
So at least based on what I'm seeing, this is a Devolver Digital title. I wasn't surprised once I saw Devolver Digital was the publisher because this is completely what they would do. Yeah. So Kozi, thoughts on it?
Looks real good. Devolver Digital games aren't always for me, but I'm still excited to see what everyone else thinks of it.
Yeah. All right, cool. Then I thought this was going to be, I didn't think it was Persona 4 Battle Royale, but then they said classic fighting game returning. And I was like, oh, maybe it is Persona 4. But no, it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R.
Okay, so I will say, Nathan, to your defense, you're totally justified in briefly getting this game confused with the Persona series because
of the butterfly.
Yes, the Persona series borrows a lot from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The stands from JoJo Bizarre Adventure, which are those monsters that they can kind of summon to do their bidding, are like, they were basically a huge influence on the Personas from the Persona series, at least from like 3 onward. So much so that there's actually a moment in Persona Q, the like spin-off Persona game for the 3DS, where they do like these like JoJo poses that are like a reference to like scenes from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So like it's very much one of those things where like they've borrowed a lot from the Bizarre Adventure series and they're not really kind of trying to hide it.
Are the blue butterflies in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure too? Because I saw that and I thought that was like purely a Persona thing. Because you really do see that in at least in all the Personas like 3 on. I think it's even in the earlier ones. Is that in this too?
Yeah, I'm not like, I've only watched some JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm not like ultra familiar with the franchise, but I'd be interested. I didn't even really think about the blue butterfly thing. I was just more thinking about like the stands, for example, but yeah, I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I saw the butterfly and I'm like, oh my God, it's Persona. But this isn't the art style. And then it wasn't Persona. Now, I will say I'm aware of this game because it's a remaster of a fighting game, and I do pay attention to fighting games. This is apparently a great fighting game. So it's glad to see it getting a second life on current gen. And 50 characters is quite the roster for a fighting game. So, all right. Then we got a little bit of DLC for Returnal. Kozi, did you play Returnal?
No, I intend to play it at some point this year because I know that it was a game that topped many of your top 5 games of last year lists. And I guess when this DLC comes out, I'll probably give it a shot. We'll see.
Now, it is a free update. It's not DLC, technically.
Gotcha.
So it's going to add an extra section to the game. They're calling it the 3.0 update. So there will be a new section of the game as well as co-op play. So people, as Craig Miller wrote on Twitter, somebody can finally carry me to beat this game.
Yeah.
So you'll have that option to be carried if you need it.
Truth be told, like the difficulty of this game has never turned me off. I fully expect that I'm going to fall in love with this game when I eventually try it. It's really the length of this game that has made me apprehensive about jumping into it. Like knowing how long it takes to kind of like get a hold of all the different biomes and eventually 100% and platinum it. Like that has, I'd say, been the biggest thing that's been putting me off from jumping into it, especially towards the end of last year when, time was fleeting and I figured better to kind of focus on these other games rather than have Returnal take up all my time. But eventually time to complete Returnal will reveal itself in 2022. I'm confident.
100%. Okay, perfect. So we've got the Returnal Ascension. Oh, sorry, AJ, I skipped you. Any thoughts on Returnal? You didn't even play Returnal. You don't have a PS5.
I still don't have a PS5, so.
Yes. Okay. Then we get into the final 2 games, both coming from Square. And I knew immediately we weren't getting Final Fantasy 16 because they said 2 new games from Square, which means they were new and we've never seen them before. The first one screamed like almost like a Final Fantasy Tactics kind of feel to it, called the Diofield Chronicle.
I'm assuming
Diofield Chronicle?
It's probably Diofield because
Diofield?
The Dio part is probably meant to be like, God, basically. So
No, that makes sense. And it looks very much like a strategy RPG, just much more modern graphics. I think it's really odd that in the same year they might do two strategy term like RPGs, one in the Dio Field Chronicle, and then you've also got Project Triangle Strategy coming from them this year with that more 2D HD or HD 2D look.
Yeah.
So this didn't do anything for me. I'm not a big turn-based strategy guy. Either of you two have any thoughts on it?
Well, it's interesting. You're not a turn-based strategy guy, but you want turn-based Final Fantasy combat.
Yes.
You don't
I don't
like the moving around board game pieces?
No, I
of
don't
it?
like the grid aspects and everything to it.
Okay.
I like. I
Have you
just
ever
like the
played like an
turn-based combat.
XCOM or anything? Anything
Um,
like that?
I haven't played XCOM. I have played like the original Wastelands and Fallouts.
Oh, okay.
Which I actually like a little bit better. But they're more RPG than like a XCOM, which is more just about the combat than you're back between bases.
Got it.
So
Looking at some of the gameplay footage for this right here, once again we come back to like the sense of scale, and I know like what they're going for, but for me it always kind of takes me out of it when like a game like this, the characters that you're controlling and fighting with, like it's not one-to-one in terms of them versus their environment, if that makes sense.
yep.
But other than that, like it looks cool. Might be interesting.
Kozi?
When it comes to these sorts of strategy games, having a story and a cast of characters that I can really connect with are really important. If it's something like Pokemon Conquest, for example, where it's all sorts of delightful little Pokemon critters running around doing their thing, I can get into that. I can get into it if it's, say, another familiar franchise that I quite love, but this doesn't do anything for me.
Okay. I almost wonder if this, and I know, like Kozi, you talked about how it's great they're taking chances. If something like this would succeed better if it had used an existing license that they already have or existing IP with it instead of something brand new and fresh. So, because I feel like there's probably like 10 different IPs Square could have found a way to kind of make this work with.
Yeah.
So, and then the final game, and the minute I heard the word Valkyrie from her, I was like, "This is a Valkyrie profile game."
Isn't it? Hold
and
on.
well, it's
Is it Valkyrie or Valkyrie?
It's
or
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie profile game. And well, it's not called Valkyrie Profile; it's Valkyrie Elysium.
Is it any relation to Valkyria?
No.
Like the Chronicles? No? Just coincidence? Okay.
No, I did my research into this ahead of the stream. My understanding is that the original Valkyrie Profile was a like OG PlayStation 1 game, and then it got a sequel on the PlayStation 2, and then since then there hasn't really been like a lot of new activity with the series outside of like the odd mobile game, which like, you know, what does that even mean? So, I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't have any attachment to the series. Pretty cool that Square Enix is straight up like, hey, that, you know, PlayStation 2 series, let's bring it back. Nathan, do you have any experience with the series?
I want to say yes, but I think it's a different game. And now that I'm looking at it, because I thought I played this on PSP.
I believe that one of the games was ported to PSP. I believe that the first one, the PlayStation 1 version, was ported to PSP.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm seeing PlayStation and PlayStation Portable here on the list here. So yeah, so I think I did play Valkyrie Profile on the PSP. I don't remember it well. I played a lot of RPGs back then and would get like 10 hours in and then stop for the next RPG, which would release because RPGs released like every other week back then. So... but I remember having a good time with it. I know they were reviewed really well, and people thought of them like really positively. So, yeah, no, I think it's cool to see it come back. It's an existing IP. I think this is going to, a lot of people aren't going to know who this is at all or what's going on with it. But I think, but other people would be super excited to see it back. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. It looks like the last entry was Valkyrie Profile Covenant of the Plume, which came out in 2009 on the DS in North America. So it's been a hot minute since there's been a non-Android iOS version or game. So I could be tempted to give it a shot potentially. Although it does definitely looks more action based, which seems to be the way Square is shifting all their development right now.
Sure.
So yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up our review. So what do you guys think of this as a state of play? What would you, we had our patented 5-star system, which nobody else is allowed to use for reviewing games. What do you guys think would be your patented 5 stars for this?
Probably 3, 2 to 3.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like I said at the top, I gotta respect the hustle. I gotta respect Capcom and Square trying out all sorts of weird, unusual, wacky things and revivals. But the problem really is that PlayStation needs to stop treating state of plays like they're dumping grounds for everything that is not their most exciting content of all time. Like, they need to take notes from Nintendo and be like, all right, we're going to show off some stuff that's not going to be to everyone's taste. And then we're also going to insert some stuff in here that is going to get the whole world rocking. Like, you can have your Valkyrie Profile Wayward sequels. You can have your whatever the hell the name of that the Diofield Chronicles was, but you got to put a couple of big hitters in there as well. You can't keep it all saved for E3.
AJ?
Yeah, I kind of agree. It definitely feels like they felt some sort of weird obligation to these games, and like, oh, I guess we gotta put something together. I don't know, just sort of like just a bit of an info dump. I think some of these games deserve better than that, personally.
All right. Yeah, and I think like for me, I'm typically the biggest PlayStation fanboy here, but this was a 2 out of 5. I've typically defended most of the PlayStation state of plays. I think this is probably one of their worst ones, which is too bad because I actually thought I had high hopes for coming into this based on what I thought should be there. Like, how we haven't seen more of Final Fantasy 16 yet. Square's got like 3 other games to show us. I don't understand. Like, at this point, we won't see it till E3 probably, and it was supposed to come out last year. So,
I don't think that game, that game is not in trouble, but I totally agree with the sentiment that they need to like put that in these sorts of presentations to offset the more quirky and out there stuff.
Yeah, you just need those major hitters, and you just didn't have them. Like the only PlayStation Studios game, and I got excited when we saw the PlayStation Studio logos, as there's been rumors abound about Sly Cooper and Infamous getting new entries and potentially being outed this month officially. When I saw that PlayStation logo, I'm like, it's here, and it was just Returnal DLC. And not that there's a problem with that, but I think the biggest sentiment I got when I checked on Twitter was that this could have been an email. So, or a PlayStation blog post for these. Fingers crossed PlayStation understands what they need to go forward. That being said, maybe they just like what they have and they don't need to do more with it. So who knows? They're getting views, and if they get views and people keep tuning in, then they'll only worry when people stop watching them. Am I correct when I say that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
so
that's kind of how all of it goes. Like, whether it be microtransactions or tuning into this sort of thing, like, they're gonna do what gets them the attention. So
yeah. I did want to bring up here So I saw this earlier today. It looks like it was posted. On the talk of speaking about PlayStation looks like it has a bit of work to do internally on itself. There's an Axios article. So what I'm going to suggest is you go read the Axios article. It's by Stephen Totillo.
Stephen Totillo. Yep.
Stephen Totillo.
Formerly of Kotaku.
Yeah, formerly of Kotaku. Axios has become like a really good thing about breaking news.
I was going to call you out on his pronunciation, Nathan, but now that I actually sit there and think about it, I can understand why you might have gone with that pronunciation.
So, but yes, 8 more women allege sexism at PlayStation, intensifying lawsuit. So there was a lawsuit. I think we heard about it a little bit, but it was one person. It kind of just like popped up and went away.
Yeah, what struck me is that it said 8 more women allege, and I was just like, okay, wait a minute. How many was there the first time? Like, I already pessimistically expect this sort of garbage to go down at most places, but like, I don't recall hearing anything about it the first time. Like, I don't have memory of that.
Yeah, and I think if it popped up, it was like in the news and then out of the news. Whatever's going on here, and I think it's worth going and reading the article from Axios here. But it looks like PlayStation is trying to get one of the this one lawsuit like waved away, and other people have come forward, and there could be a legitimate problem behind the scenes at PlayStation. That's disturbing, and hopefully whatever is going on, they can get fixed. There's a lot of stuff to it. I can't do it justice, and I don't think it's fair for me just to read it. Go read the article from the person. I will say, as somebody who's a longtime PlayStation fan, I can think of very few women who are front-facing talking about PlayStation. Am I correct there?
Yeah, like, I think the first person that comes to mind is Alana Pierce, who actually works at who's working on God of War Ragnarok, and like that's the closest like front-facing woman that I can think of working at a Sony first studio or part of the organization.
And Alana Pierce is great, but it's very rare that you see her in some sort of capacity where she's like presenting something at PlayStation or like in like one of these direct style presentations, for example.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, Alana didn't come to me, but that's a great point. I would think back to Amy Henning, who once again not front facing, but was a writer for Uncharted, and is probably their most high profile woman that had been on staff somewhere. Everybody else seems to be men everywhere. So I think this is something that really should be looked into, and apparently it is an issue and systemic in the organization, and people are afraid that they do not have the people internally, or I don't remember the quote was exactly, but Sony's not equipped. Oh no, I believe Sony is not equipped to appropriately handle toxic environments, wrote Kara Johnson, a former program manager. Yeah. So they're not set up to fix that. So not great news. Hopefully, if there is stuff going on behind the scenes here, and it looks like there is, that Sony can right this ship and turn it around. We've seen these issues range from different organizations, Ubisoft, Activision, Riot, into smaller studios too, like Steve Gaynor's studio, which he's not a part of anymore. Fulbright. Yeah. Fulbright. So you've seen it from the big to the small, and this is a serious issue, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they can get out here and actually make some meaningful change, unlike other organizations we've seen, and want to make that meaningful change instead of just sweeping it under the rug. But their initial actions don't seem very positive towards the matter. Yeah. So, okay. Sorry, we're going to end this on a down note, so my apologies about that.
Hey, shit happens.
It's a serious topic, and it's something that needs to be addressed. It's that simple. So don't fuck this up. Make it good as best as you can. Make it good for the people. It's already been a bad situation for people. Let's try and fix it for the current and future employees, and try and fix what the things that happened with the old employees. So That being said, so we're done for the show. So thanks you for tuning in for Press YYZ. If you enjoyed this broadcast, be sure to follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube, and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. You can also check us out on Twitter at Press YYZ and slide into our Discord at invite.gg/PressYYZ to keep the conversation going. We love having fun conversation in there. I'm going to give one final throw out for me. If you are listening and you've enjoyed this content, specifically me, check out my Twitch channel, _NMAC, so that I can try and get my follower count up because I'm trying to become an affiliate. So I'd really appreciate that. Other than that, until next time, thank you for playing, guys. Have a great day. All right.